the best family day out, come to Flamingo, land of thrills and land of fun. Flamingo Land, it's the one. For the best family day out, come to Flamingo, land of thrills and land of fun. Flamingo Land, it's the one.
Flamingo Land, North Yorkshire. Wild animals, wilder rides. Wilder rides.
Now ride the rides. Look at that on the box art. Now ride the rides. Like, that obviously was the big selling point here. Or they thought it was. That was the next step, right? But of course, this wasn't the first park builder where you could do that. We've already covered the granddaddy of park builders with Theme Park. This quintessentially British game kicked off a whole mini-genre, and the original Theme Park had a couple of follow-ups in Theme Park World and Theme Park Inc., which was known as Sim Coaster in America. But Bullfrog weren't the only ones selling the dream of building your own fun-time paradise. Up in Scotland, a man called Chris Sawyer had made Transport Tycoon back in 1994, and had turned his attention to making a rival park builder which came out in 1999. Rollercoaster Tycoon set itself apart from Theme Park through having an isometric viewpoint you could rotate to see the park from 4 different angles, as well as the ability to move, raise and lower terrain, build tunnels through the earth, and create buildings from scenery elements. The total effect of which was to give the player more freedom to create more visually complex parks that could be closer to the real deal. Closer to those American parks that had themed areas and used the landscape to their advantage, in a way that British theme parks were increasingly trying to emulate in places like Alton Towers. So these two series ran side by side briefly, a bit like FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer, with purists claiming the detail and freedom provided by Sawyer's series made it superior to the polish and Saturday morning cartoon appeal of Theme Park, which made the shift to a full 3D engine much sooner. Meaning you could ride the rides and even walk around your creation in Theme Park World, long before Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 made the boast. But this was a first for the series, finally moving into the 3D space, shifting development to a company called Frontier, based in Cambridge, but with Sawyer as a consultant. And the aim was to completely eclipse the Theme Park series in terms of size, scope and detail, and it absolutely did. Where Theme Park had largely remained a way to fill a flat square with a bunch of rides and shops, even as the series moved into the 3D space, Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 managed to take its own series' unique selling points and translate them to a 3D environment, such as terrain morphing and building construction. This is how your fantasy park becomes less like a drizzly plot of land in Scunthorpe with some dodgems and a waltzer on it, and more like those intricately designed American parks that feel more like a planned town that exists purely for entertainment. It's amazing how the ability to add hills and mountains makes the whole thing look so much more realistic. Plus the ability to make lakes and moats immediately adds character to any map. This is also a really cool way of separating areas of the park into different themed zones, as well as the possibility of creating an entirely distinct themed ride, as I have tried to do with this minecart coaster. It is a bit tricky though. Hang on, if I just put... Oh, hang on. Oh, what? Oh, why's that happened? Why can't I build on top of that now? Why can't I make that go down now? What is that shit? You can play this as a regular video game if you really want to. The developers have included a number of scenarios in which you take over a small park and need to develop it to hit certain objectives. This is fine, I suppose, but I think these work more as a showcase of the kind of environments you can create with the tools at your disposal. Why is that happening? What is this bollocks? I just want to build a canyon. But surely it's the sandbox mode that everyone just goes straight to, right? The whole point is to try and build your own dream park, and here you can do it without any financial or research restrictions. All the rides, all the shops, all the scenery elements, all available from the get-go. Make your dream real. You can make something pretty decent in a relatively short time, which speaks to the intuitive nature of these relatively complex building tools. And these parks feel alive when the punters roll in. You can actually enjoy being here. And of course, you can indeed ride the rides.
Oh no! Oh no! No! Oh god! This is not funny!
Without too much planning, you can set down a few rides and shops and build up a fairly realistic looking world around them, thanks to scenery elements like trees, fountains and the odd little lake. Adding buildings around your monorail just makes it feel more like the ones you might have used in a real park, and it's this detail that sets the game apart. You end up feeling quite irrationally proud of these imaginary lands. I'm pretty proud of this one. Look, I made a whole area for this music concert, all surrounded by a moat and trees, so that you can't just watch the show without getting a ticket. Because rules are very important.
Guns don't kill people, rappers do. I seen it in a documentary on BBC Two. Shot to death outside Hyper Value, guns blazing like Michael Caine in Zulu.
The expansions for this game were also quite significant, with one adding the ability to create water parks and the other giving you the option to make a safari park. These massively alter the experience to the degree that you really get your money's worth. Frontier Developments would go on to make Planet Coaster, which of course has a massively increased scope for expressing your creativity even more, but honestly I think it just tipped over into being a little too complicated. Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 is simple enough that you can make a pretty decent sized park that looks like this in about 3 hours, and it's that balance between accessibility and depth that makes this my favourite park builder of all time. I hear there's a Switch version out there, but I can't imagine that's a fun time with a controller. This original one's on Good Old Games, so give it a go.